And welcome everybody to the glorious episode of the Signal Caller. I'm your host Dwayne Douglas, along with Solo Lopez. You can call me, you can see me, call me. You can check me, don't call me. You can check me out on Twitter. POR SBR is my Twitter handle, and then Solos is the Solo Lopez. So check him out there. Especially with the drafts coming along, you definitely want to check out a lot of the things that he posts coming up here. Don't forget to like or review, comment, leave a like, smash the like button, do a subscribe, all that stuff like that. A lot of you folks are watching the show but not subscribing. Just subscribe, takes 2 seconds, and you get updates. So when we have new shows for this show, Student Body Right USC podcast, and then also the Put on Raiders podcast. So Ben Johnson is not the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll talk about the kind of the after effects of that. So let's just jump in that right now. Obviously, you did have two kind of prominent insider names like Josina Anderson and Adam Schefter. They really didn't have any information, but they just said he's not going there because they have no quarterback, whatever, whatever. They ended up being right. Josina Anderson, of course, in her great professionalism, said, "Listen to your girl." Today, that was her tweet about Ben Johnson. Today, but yeah, so
Shout
he
out to
went.
the haters.
Shout out to the haters. But I do think this is something where like for the Raiders again. And this is why I mean this is what we talked about for years. Ever since I've known you, we talked about the same thing, kind of over and over again. They will not handle or attack the quarterback position. And in this case, if they had a young quarterback, they might have got their hands on a guy who is one of the best offensive play callers in football.
Ever is what we've seen so far. I mean, his statistics back it up, and just to further the point, even further and further and further. I mean, it's the same story over and over and over again. You don't have a quarterback, you can't compete. You can't compete getting the coaches. You can't compete on the field. You can't compete off the field. You can't compete in the playoffs. You just for the definitive problem with the Raiders organization to be staring them in the face every single offseason over and over and over and over again
It's quite
for
amazing.
nothing to change. It's just I don't know how many more ways you have to be passed over or lose or have losing seasons or not win playoff games or not win division titles or not have consecutive winning seasons. I don't know how many more years you have to do that. And now with losing what seems to be every hot offensive play caller, because it looks like Liam Cohen, who we predicted would go to the Raiders, you and I went back and forth with that.
Mm.
We got the Bears right, we got Mike Vrabel right, and now we're just waiting on the other pieces to fall. But it just seems very strange that this problem just keeps bubbling over the surface and keeps spilling all over the floor and all over your clothes and all over everything. And you just look at that and be like, well, we're just going to keep trying this the same way. The same ingredients are going to go into this pot every single year. No, never mind that it keeps splashing all of us over and burning the house down and all that. It doesn't matter about that. We're going to use the same exact ingredients with the same formula and the same process and the same recipe. And this is the result. The recipe of not getting a quarterback is losing on and off the field, flat out, every year, like clockwork, year in, year out.
And it's weird because I mean, you don't have to be, and I know that this is like people talk about Mark Davis not knowing football and not being a football guy, despite having one of the most brilliant minds in football's ever created as his father. Um, Even with that being said, it's pretty much simple. Hey, how did this team get this quarterback? Oh, they lost the season before.
Mm-hmm.
It suck for luck, tank for Tua. Like however you want to do it. Like the Chargers happen to be bad at the right time to get Herbert. So the Bengals have had a history of just being bad at the right time too, whether it's Carson Palmer. I mean, even the career of Andy Dalton. I mean, I forgot what round he got picked, but
Second
he
round,
second round. But he's been of the second round quarterbacks. He's been one of the best second round quarterbacks we've seen. And then
100%.
and then and then Joe Burrow
Yeah.
as well. So I'm not sure like why I'm not sure why these little trivial wins in during the during the end of the regular season really like tickles the fancy of the owner. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure. I mean, like, and I think too, like people who are surrounding him don't really. They're just hangers oners because they're not actually giving him real advice. They're not telling him. Then they're not really saying, "Hey, Mark, like let's like for real, like we're almost there. Like we there's opportunity to get a quarterback. We need one. Let's just like if you're not gonna hire if you're not gonna fire AP, then put out Carter Bradley, cut out put out whatever you gotta do. Have a bunch of guys be on IR. Like you gotta do whatever you
Start
can.
Desmond Ritter the rest of that season.
Yeah, like you know what I mean. Like do what you gotta do. I go
It's
one.
not. It was not
I
difficult
I
to
go one
take Aiden
better.
O'Connell. What's that?
I go one better and put out our version of Tommy DeVito and
Yeah,
put out Carter Bradley.
Carter Bradley. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just the jokes write themselves at this point. I mean, will anybody remember the wins against the Giants and Tommy DeVito or Zach Wilson two
Nope.
years ago? Are they gonna? They're like that. The AP era. The reason why we hired Antonio Pierce because he won those final games against people that don't even matter in this capacity now. That's all done.
Yeah.
So what
So
did those what 7 wins? No, I'm sorry, 9 wins. What did the 9 wins of Antonio Pierce cost the Raiders? Let's see. Last year there were 5 quarterbacks in the that were first round that all started this year. A 6-1 went 10th overall to the Vikings, who has now just got his coach of the year waiting in the wings, basically, to take over one of the most lethal, potent offenses in football. So you have 6 quarterbacks that are all in situations that are going to benefit them. Ben Johnson is now the coach for Caleb Williams. He's the best play caller in the entire NFL, bar none. I don't care what you want to say about Jameson Williams throwing the ball on a trick play. They scored 31 points in the divisional round against a playoff team that they turned the ball over to 5 times. It's a matter of what it is. He is the best play caller in football, bar none. So he goes to Caleb Williams now. Drake May has Mike Vrabel, who's going to infinitely be a upgrade over Gerard Mayo, and now he's got Josh McDaniels, who was an effective play caller for Tom Brady all those years. And people seem to gloss over this. Mac Jones was a Pro Bowler as a rookie with Josh McDaniels calling the plays the year before he went off to coach the Raiders. So, and then we all saw what happened after he left. So you have all these situations where these people are in completely good scenarios and good situations for these quarterbacks. So that's year one. Well, what did year two cost us? We have 13 straight games where they're down by two scores or more. They go up against they have a 10-game losing streak. They're a 2-win football team, and they have a top 2 pick in that moment. And we decide to go out there and win a game against Jacksonville, the worst team one of the worst teams in football, and then turn around and win another game against the Saints, who are basically imploding in any way, in any shape or form, the way you want to explain that. And now that's the 9th win, and as we know, his final win as the NFL coach, for the Raiders, and will be the final win of his NFL career. He'll never be a head coach again. And you look at this situation and be like, this is what it cost us now. We're at the 6th overall pick. We fired our general manager, who had a great draft last year, but not necessarily a great offseason because he didn't deliver a quarterback. And then we turn around and we have no coach, no quarterback. We have no general manager right now. And we're not even putting out interviews with some of these good guys. We are already almost 2 days past when Ben Johnson got hired for the Bears. And as it turns out, we were never in the running. The Bears were the top choice. The Bears were the only choice. We know that for a fact now. You don't lose on Saturday and get hired on Monday if you are exploring your options as an NFL coach. You're taking more in-person interviews. You're going to have these more. The Bears hired him without even giving him an in-person interview.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean,
I don't know what more you need to know off of it to infer from that the Raiders were never in it. They had never had a chance.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. Like, I mean, there wasn't even a blink of an eye as far as that goes. They lost, and then I think also too, for him losing to the team that he turned down last year, and seeing what that young quarterback did in that game, I think that was it was just a no brainer. Either the Raiders were who knows? Maybe the Raiders were in there to drive up the price. Maybe it was just him, either maybe him just being a Tom Brady fan, just giving him the respect
Yeah.
for him asking, for the interview. But that's where it is. And then he's gone and he's going to Chicago. And I think do the Raiders play the Bears next year? I think the Raiders play
They sure do.
they sure do. That should be fun times. That should be fun times with there.
And so here we're at. This is what our 9 wins from Antonio Pierce cost us.
Yeah, it is. A question about it. For the Brady part of it, we were joking about, like, hey, like, listen, and you said to me today, like, when John Elway took over the Broncos, he closed when he had a opportunity to
Peyton Manning.
get Peyton Manning. The Raiders Brady did not close here, and I feel like this is like this little bit of, like, hey, listen, maybe it's, they've interviewed a lot of coaches already, and maybe somebody from that pool is going to end up being the head coach, but like this little dead period here is like, if you rate the jobs, the Raiders have the second to worst job. So like if you have an opportunity to hire a coach and a GM, like there is no, like, time waits for no man. Like it's time to go.
Yeah, it feels like we're falling behind again because now Aaron Glenn is linked to the Jets. They said they offered him a contract. He's going to sit on it. The job is his if he wants. That was made clear today by national reporters.
And it
Liam
sounds
Cohen
like, real quick, just on that one, it sounds like he is putting together his staff right now. He flew back on
Woody Johnson's plane.
Woody Johnson's plane, so it sounds like he's putting
Yeah.
together a staff and getting ready to kind of formally accept that job and go ahead with Liam Cohen.
Yeah, so by this time tomorrow, Aaron Glenn could be the coach of the Jets, and then Liam Cohen is being strongly linked to Jacksonville. So if that's the case, and Jacksonville gets Liam Cohen, and Aaron Glenn is gone, that means the jobs at that remaining balance would be the Cowboys, the Saints, who are also a really terrible position and organization and in a really terrible state, and the Raiders and the Jaguars. So if the Jaguars get Cohen, then we're looking at what? Todd Monken? I don't want Todd Monken. I know people do. I don't. Not even close. You cannot convince me that Todd Monken will be able to build a program to compete in the AFC West. You just can't convince me of that. You have the Baltimore Ravens organization giving him is the filter for him to be successful in this case. We're not getting Lamar Jackson. Sorry, guys. It's just not happening. We're not getting Lamar Jackson. We're not getting Derrick Henry. We're not having the infrastructure of Baltimore. And yes, he's a good play caller, and Lamar Jackson is likely going to win another MVP. I don't buy that. I don't buy the upside for Todd Monken. I just don't. I don't buy the upside for Pete Carroll either. And we're running out of really good options. And it doesn't seem like Brian Flores is going to be getting a job. And if we pass on an opportunity to get him because of whatever reason, whether it's the litigation or other things that are happening that are preventing him from getting a job, then where does that leave the Raiders? If Pete Carroll is the coach of the Raiders, he'll be 74 in September. Then what do we do in 4 years, in 3 years? Well, is he going to coach when he's 80? Is he going to be Joe Paterno out there? I mean, what? It's just, I like Pete Carroll. I like what he did in Seattle, but that is an archaic hire, literally, who runs an archaic system. And he's rah-rah and he's great and he's a young 73. I get it, but the Raiders need a contemporary person running the show. And as of right now, we don't know what the situation is or what even the plan is because they're not even asking for interviews with these other guys. So, well, I don't know what's happening. I was very optimistic when they let Telesco and Pierce go because I thought Brady was going to come in here and be like, we are presenting ourselves for a new way. But the problem with his situation is that he may be running the Raiders, but he's also the broadcaster. So we didn't even get a press conference. We didn't get anything for Brady, like accepting his position or doing anything like that. So we're all left out in the cold until something actually happens. We have to read the tea leaves of beat writers that don't know anything, national reporters who are just dropping nuggets and clues, but still are wrong in this situation. And we have nothing to go on as fans of an organization that has no guiding light or horizon.
I would say in this moment here for the Raiders would be, because it seems like every other opening has a GM still as a GM because because Newmark is going to go to the Jets with
Glenn.
with
Yeah.
Glenn, right? So the relationship that Tom Brady has with Spytech would seem like it seemed like it would be done already. Like, you know what I mean? It just seems like it would be like a spot where okay, I got that job, I'm done. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, like they played together. He helped bring him to Tampa Bay, um, and that would be a spot where I would say, um, that's where he would go. If you walked away with
Mm.
this in a situation with Carroll and Spytech, I could live with it. Just going through the years of with Carroll and in Seattle. Um, well, before I do that, with with Munkin, you got just looking at some of the guys who are available. So you got Cliff. They could be waiting to talk to Cliff. They haven't talked to McCarthy, who I think McCarthy would be a guy who I would definitely interview. We talked about Carol Flores is I think lesson learned is just like if you sue your boss, you're not gonna ever. I mean, they're not gonna stop him from working,
Yeah.
but he's never gonna go to that next level. They're not gonna it's the NFL is not gonna let him be a head coach. It's just not gonna happen. Liam Coleman, and then you got Todd Monken. I guess tomorrow you got to find out whether or not. I think the Jaguars closes tomorrow. And like so we'll see if I know they're talking to Salah. I know they're talking to Patrick Graham. They're talking to Liam Cohen. We'll have to see which one they choose. It's all for that job. It's all going to be about who actually well, uh, bulk you can control. Like you know what I mean? Like
Mm.
it's
The
all
general
about
manager for Jacksonville.
it's all about bulky. It's all about bulky.
Yeah.
What he wants to do. As far as Carroll goes, like just going through I kind of want to see the years, his whole years, his whole tenure at Seattle. And as far as offensive and defensive coordinators, year one was Jeremy Bates, Gus Bradley. They notable coaches who were on his staff were names you'd remember would be Dave Canales, who was on his staff for a long period of time. Jed Fish, who's now the head coach at the University of Washington. Jeff Ulrich, who is the interim, who used to be the interim coach for the Jets and now is the defensive coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons. That was a name. Those are some names in there from year one. Year two was Darren Bevel and Gus Bradley. And then he spent a lot of years with Darrell Bevel. So if Darrell Bevel might be the OC of the Raiders if that takes place.
I
We
can't
got
handle it, man. I
yeah,
can't
the what?
handle the older this. I just can't do it, man. I can't handle it.
I mean, this is what
Like
this
it
is what
would. I
this
mean, what if they
was.
bring Gus Bradley back again to be the defense coordinator for the Raiders? Like
Yeah,
that's tough, man.
yeah. I
It's
mean,
tough.
Gus Bradley is that's a hard hire. That's going to be definitely a difficult hire.
Yeah.
Definitely going to be a hard hire. Bevel's 55, so Bevel is. It seems like his the staff that he had below was better. What has more notable names than his actual coordinators.
It definitely
Um,
does. When you name off
yeah,
the coordinators, they didn't have
yeah.
good. They didn't make good coaches.
Which is fine. They could still be. I mean, they could still be. That doesn't mean that they can't be. Good.
Coordinators. Yeah.
Good coordinators or assistants. Canals was there for a long time. I mentioned that already. I didn't realize this is where Robert Saleh got his start. So Robert Saleh was on his staff for years. So was Nick Sorston. And then trying to see any more notable names here. And then that's where then you get to the Dan Quinn years, and Dan Quinn kind of took Gus Bradley's game, his whatever he has to another level. So you had that. Canals was there for a long time. He looks like he's a young dude, but he put in work. He's been in the league for a long time. And it's kind of turned out right now because he looks like he's heading in the right direction as far as being a good coach here. And then
Yeah.
you get into the Chris Richard years. And then the Ken Norton years, which you really don't want, and then the Ken Norton years they were in the middle of the pack, defensively, and then the last couple years where it was the Clint Hurt years. Those were the last two ones, defensively,
Yeah,
where they really struggled the last
they
two
were really
years.
bad,
They're really
really
bad
bad
with
defensively.
him as far as far as that goes. But I mean, that's where I mean that's where they are. And I don't to me, like, as far as, like, just put together a staff. I don't have a problem. I don't really think I don't think Carroll could not. I think Carroll will put together a good staff. I just don't. Like I said, like, with the age part of it, is something that he's not your normal 74-year-old, but still, your faculties can go at any can just like you can be totally healthy and be young, and your faculties can go, and then
Yeah,
that can happen when you get older, even 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 faster. But I think the biggest thing would be, um looking where Cohen is. Looking where Cohen is going to be, because I mean that's the biggest guy. And I'm not sure. Maybe, who knows? Maybe when Cliff actually, when Cliff actually goes and is done, and who knows? The Jaguars could be waiting for Cliff. Like, you never. I mean, like, you never. I mean,
could be waiting for Kellen Moore too.
yeah, exactly. Kellen Moore could be out. Could be a guy
Maybe
out
the
there.
Raiders are waiting for Kellen Moore. Who knows?
Hopefully not waiting for Matt Nagy.
Golly, that would be.
That would be my version of Carroll. That would be my version of Carroll. Like, at least Carroll, like, could show that he can coach
Yeah.
and delegates and does whatever. But, like, I could not live through through a Matt Nagy situation, or a Spagnuolo, because both the guys are good coordinators, but not good
Coach.
not good head coaches. But that's where, I mean, that's just, I know it's a quarterback show, for the most part, and we talk about quarterbacks a lot. But for the most part, that's where the Raiders don't have the three major parts of their team as far as general manager, a head coach, and quarterback. So I mean, that's where it is right
You couldn't
now.
have a more blank slate than this situation. And just to go back to the Spytech situation,
Yeah.
maybe it's not a done deal because he doesn't want to work for anybody. He doesn't want a president of football operations that's above him. He doesn't want maybe a mandate that might be put down in that situation. I mean, that's a real situation too, you know? That's a real thing. So
What kind of
um,
what do you mean when you say mandate for the
so
quarterback?
like for well, not just for the quarterback, but maybe for the direction of the team, the vision of a team that Tom Brady might have. I mean, he's the guy in charge, so maybe he has a specific vision of what he wants to do and what he wants to be as a football team. Because I don't know the last time the Raiders actually had an identity. Because even during the height of their good seasons, like maybe the 2016 season, yeah, sure they were an offensive team, but it's not like they were a juggernaut. They could run the ball. They had a physical offensive line. Derek
Yeah,
Carr wasn't putting up scene numbers. He wasn't putting up, video game numbers. He had 28 touchdowns in his 2016 year.
yeah,
He had 3,900 yards, and people look at that as his peak year, but it's really he didn't blow the doors off anybody. Like people still argue about the whole, if he hadn't broken his leg, he would have won the MVP thing. Matt
yeah,
Ryan had like 4,400 yards that year and 39 touchdowns and 120 something quarterback rating or something stupid like that. Like Matt Ryan
yeah,
blew the doors off that.
yeah,
He won the MVP vote by like 27 votes. So
yeah,
like he didn't like even during that, they weren't like an offensive juggernaut.
yeah,
So it's like the times where the team had an identity was you'd have to go back to the John Gruden years. That's really what it was,
yeah,
where they were a literal contender on both sides of the ball. They had a great defense. They had an obscene offense for that time. They scored a lot of points. They moved the ball constantly. They were good in the red zone. They could run the ball. They could throw the ball. They could defend the run. They could defend the pass. Like they had an identity and they were
uh-huh,
big and they were bad and they were the Raiders. And it's like we've gone 23 years now. We haven't had a real identity as a football team. We
uh-huh.
haven't had a direction. We haven't had a guide. We haven't had anything. And so like what maybe in this situation, Brady has a specific vision and maybe he wants him to build a team his own way, but build a team within the vision that he has for him. He has the blueprint and he wants it done this way, and this is the vision, and this is what he wants the team to look like. Maybe that's the hesitation. And Tom Brady doesn't know it and has never been in this position. Even though he's the GOAT, maybe there's hesitation there. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it looks as if right now that the Raiders are a little far behind because they anticipated being able to land Johnson, and they didn't really have a real plan B. Mm.
They,
If
I
it's
mean,
Carroll, if it's Carroll, then maybe Carroll is secretly trying to build a staff, but I feel like we would know that. I feel like there'd be something that lets us know that. So I don't know.
I mean, there'd be some juice, I think, behind that. But like I said, like with Spy Tech, like I said, we don't have, and this team is going to move a little bit more in silence than they have in the past. You can tell that by the beat writers who are like mad that Mark Davis won't return their phone calls and things like that. But you still can't, like to your point, you still can't hide with someone. You can't hide the fact when agent's going to let people know that their
Yeah,
client is getting is
yeah.
get is getting interviewed. I had the list with me and I can't even find it now. I can't find the list of people who they interviewed so far. But I think you
Well, so
might.
far it's Sala, it's Ron Rivera, it's virtual interview with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. Virtual interview was um, well, I think that was it for the virtual interviews. I think they only
Yeah,
did five, right?
I think so. I don't know
Sala,
why.
Rivera,
I don't know why I can't find it. I
Ben
swear,
Johnson, Aaron
Ben
Glenn, yeah,
Johnson, Ben Glenn. So yeah, so but then we'll see.
and
We'll
Pete
see.
Carroll.
MP Carroll. So let me
So those are
see.
the five interviews I think they've done right now.
I think it was one more, if I can find it real quick. Hold on, I gotta find that real quick. But yeah, and then of course,
If this situation happens to where they fired the head coach or the head coach and the general manager because they were trying to land Ben Johnson. Well, Pierce I think was gone either way, but because they were trying to land Ben Johnson, they fired Telesco. If that's the situation, and now they're waiting to hire another manager to conduct a real head coaching search, that is just one more domino of how really badly the organization is run. And it would mean that nothing would have changed from that last year to this year with Tom Brady in charge. Because if you don't have a plan B and now you're waiting for the general manager to conduct his own search after you've already let four teams hire their coach, you're behind once again. Once again, you're behind. You didn't get Ben Johnson. Certainly didn't get Mike
no.
Vrabel.
Well, I mean, I feel like
I think Mike Vrabel alone disproves the whole Tom Brady and his connections thing. I think that alone disproves it.
yeah. I mean,
He was getting interviews before the Raiders even fired Antonio Pierce.
yeah.
That's bad.
I don't think that Munkin I don't think Munkin was even interviewed yet by the Raiders, right? I don't think he even got interviewed. So I'm not
No,
sure
I
if
think
that way.
he was linked to the Raiders, but
Yeah,
nothing came out of it.
yeah.
So
And as far as Aaron Glenn goes, like why not? Like I mean, I think why would you not shift to Aaron Glenn if you really wanted to get somebody in? I mean, the Jets is where he played. Like I get that a little bit of that affinity there, but at the end of the day, like the Jets are just as bad a job as the Raiders. I mean,
yeah,
they probably have more pieces on defense, so he might say to himself like, I could really, if I could just get somebody who could score 22 points a game, 23 points a game, then I can maybe make some moves. Because I got some pieces on defense, on the defensive line, and everything like that. So we'll see. We'll see there, but like I said, like some of these, like, the names are not. I mean, you can't walk into that press conference and start off with Ben Johnson and end up with Vance Joseph or Steve Spagnuolo. Like I mean, those guys are
yeah, or
good.
Anthony Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, those guys are good coaches. They're good defensive coaches. They're good coaches. I'm not trying to. This is not like a rag on them or talk shit about them. It's just that we're talking about a guy who's a head guy, and who's gonna really do something for the Raiders here in that situation. So it's I mean, like I said, it can all be fixed tomorrow. So that's why when I record this show, I'm going to make sure it gets out as soon as possible because tomorrow morning we can wake up and we can have everything we talked about could be answered really quickly.
Or wrong.
or
You
it could
know,
be, or it could be like,
what if tomorrow we wake up and it's Liam Cohen and John Spytek? Then we'll
yeah,
be super happy. So
never been super happy. So like, yeah. So
yeah,
I mean, at this point, I'm not sure how. I mean, I know they want to slow down the process, but like, I don't. Some of these teams, it's like weird to me. It's like, dude, what are you slowing down? Like, what are you waiting for? Like,
yeah,
I mean, the guy, like, you spending all this time with these guys. You know, you especially if you're the Jaguars, you know, you have a quarterback. Like, what are you like? I mean, I know Patrick Graham is a smart dude. I can guarantee you he's impressive in an interview, but I can't. But that's not really a great spot for him as far as like, unless he has a star, you know, OC coming in with him. Like
yeah.
that would be the big thing for me as far as his candidacy goes there. So it seems like I said, like, we're in that little, bubble where we're like, it's like us and the Saints basically, because those are like I think we're a better job than the Saints because Mickey Loomis, you don't got to deal with Mickey Loomis.
Yeah.
But
And
we
you don't
got
have to deal with being under the cap by $53 million with $100 million quarterback that won't take a pay cut, even though he's terrible.
Yeah, and it's tough because if you do really well in year one with Bulky, then Khan is probably going to say, "Oh, you know what? Hey, let me give me 5 more years
Yeah.
of Trent
More
Bulky."
bulky.
Yeah, so
Hey,
so
I'll throw this out. Maybe
yeah.
Patrick Graham and Bo Hardigree reunion in Jacksonville. I don't know. I don't
Hey,
know.
listen, hey, please do, because it sounds like I mean, like Cohen is not going back to the Bucks. Like he's getting a job somewhere. So hopefully,
When the Athletic releases a report that said that the Buccaneers are bracing for Liam Cohen to leave, it's
yeah,
kind of that's
it's
kind of
it's
you know
over. It's over. It's over. And
this
seeing
was
that,
the early process of the Mike Vrabel stuff. Like you and
yeah,
I talked about this weeks ago. We said it flat. I mean I think I picked it. I think I picked the exact day. I said I think this time by Monday, Mike Vrabel's going to be the coach, and I think it
yeah,
was Tuesday. So we
yeah,
got real close. So
yeah. Exactly. I mean, and he just signed
Josh McDaniels,
Josh McDaniels for the OC job there. Um,
is that the former Raiders head coach? That guy.
if you can call what he did coaching. Um,
We could try.
so what we're gonna do for next time, because I wanted to kind of get that together for us, because we got to have something, guys, we got to have something a little bit more positive to talk about, is the draft, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I know you and me both, I mean, love this running back class.
Oh my God. Mhm.
I'm seeing people like rate it, and somebody put out a tweet today saying, this is the worst free agent running back class in I think in history. And then the guy retweeted and was like, "Oh, don't worry about it," because the draft is going to be amazing.
Yeah.
So you got Genty, you got Neal, you got Hampton, you got Gibbons, you got Henderson, you got Amaro
Caleb
Hampton.
Johnson,
Yeah,
Judkins,
yeah.
you know,
It's so many guys in
Ollie
here.
Gordon, Raheem Sanders,
I mean,
Trevor Etienne.
yeah,
Yeah.
what is Scatterable going to be like? There's so many different options you have there. So we'll talk about some of those running backs here in a signal caller, and then I think the quarterback I want to kind of zero in on to give us kind of a week to kind of look at would be Kyle McCord.
Yeah.
Kyle McCord.
A good one to start with.
We'll start with Kyle McCord because I think he is a guy who pocket passer, but definitely can sling the ball all around the yard. And he played in the offense where he was forced to make all the throws, and he made all the throws. So, and I
Yeah.
think Syracuse was one of the highest scoring and one of the most explosive offenses in college football this year. And they had a epic game at the end of the year where they beat Cam Ward up there in the dome. So we'll talk about that. So,
Gigantic chip on his shoulder.
oh yes, yes he
Ohio
does.
State just replaced him and won the national championship.
Yes,
Gigantic chip. They
yes.
basically scapegoated him last year.
And it's the funny thing about it is too. On the flip side of that is Kansas State. I don't think people talk about that much, talk about Kansas State very much, but Kansas State kind of forced Will Howard out.
Yeah.
They said, hey, because they had a young guy who was like, if Howard stays, I'm out. and they said, okay, we're gonna we have like it's either are we gonna sit there and have 1 year of eligibility with Will Howard, or we're gonna have the three years of eligibility with this kid. And they took the kid, and then now Will Howard is just like he has stories he can tell for days. That I mean,
Yeah.
because they went through a freaking gauntlet of great teams to win the national championship, especially
Yeah.
dismantling Oregon. As far as that goes. So hopefully next time we talk, we will have either. So it's three of them. The quarterback will probably have to wait, but it's three spots. It's no quarter. It's no GM, no head coach, no quarterback. So hopefully at least one of
That's a
them.
bad place to be in for an
Hey,
organization.
listen, hey, listen. They got time. They got time. No, they don't. But they got to get that done soon. So we'll see if they get that done soon here. Um, before before next show. All right. Anything else, Solo, before we bounce? Any draft nuggets before we go?
Look out for Oronde Gadsden, Syracuse.
Okay. We're on the gas in position.
Converted tight end to wide receiver. I thought he
Okay.
was going to play tight end in the pros. Really, I really like his game. I think he might still play tight end if he gains some pounds
Mhm.
back and actually goes on. But I'm going to pay close attention to Oronde Gadsden and see where he goes. I really like him.
Then the last name sounds familiar. Does he have family who played in a
He I think
was
his dad is Oronde Gadsden. I think his dad played.
bad played? Okay, because that last name sounds very sounds very familiar. All right, so well, I will be on spaces and stuff like that too. Hopefully, hopefully we have some news to report next time we come on. Take care,
Yes,
brother.
sir.